Okay, so I'm inviting y'all to start with me today by downloading the zip file of this project. Um, Note that if you already did a bunch of work on this, I'm not saying that you have to go back and redo it like this. Okay, I don't know. It seemed like one person made me think they had like already done the whole thing, which was above and beyond when I hadn't even posted it yet. So So I'm not saying you must redo it, okay? Uh, but if you didn't start, which is what I would expect based on the level of support that I gave you, downloading the zip is the first step. You get this folder. If it were me, I would put this folder in the folder where you store websites for this class. Surely it's not your desktop. Surely it's not your downloads folder, is it? Is it downloads? Oh, oh. I wonder if that'd be a good icebreaker sometime. How many items are on your desktop? Like four or like 500? You know those people that just store everything on their desktop? Like I have that many, which to me isn't terrible. But if you have more items than can actually fit on your desktop and you have to stack them up, I judge you, Tristan. Just saying there's value in folders. Okay, yeah. Did you find this? You got this site? Code? Download zip? Unzip the folder, unzip the file so that it becomes a folder. And then for me, I would move it to my CIS211 folder. And then I would want to open that in, that is, open a folder. Remember this? I'm going to say File, Open Folder. I'm going to browse to wherever it is. Here it is. I'm going to click the folder and open it. So that in the sidebar, it says something like CIS211, SP25, Test 2, Goodreads, right? You've opened that folder. Inside this folder, there's a folder called Design. There's a folder called Images. There's a file called gitignore, which you can ignore. Um, there's an index.html and a styles.css. Is everybody seeing that? We good? In the design folder are two images, two screenshots that I took that are the design that I'm using as a basis, just as to have it all here. You could certainly open the site if you go to Goodreads and open to any book, you could find this. And then I like basically cut out all the comment section and just put the footer in a different picture. The footer goes underneath this one. Yeah. So this is the general design that we're going for. But there'll be some things that I take out. Yeah. Did you find this link in the Google Doc? Let's see. If you go to the assignments and test 2, CSS take home, you got something like that? Do you have this description of this test 2 CSS take home? Okay, so you've got this Google Doc. Okay, and then in the Google Doc at the bottom under comments, there's this link, github.com/FAQ/CIS211, this guy. I'll send it on Discord too. Okay, you found it? You get the link? So you're going to open that link and click on the code button and go to download zip. Okay. All right, so let's pull up the code and do a little bit of architecting on this site. Okay. As I mentioned, like to me, they're very clearly these, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish rows. The banner, the nav, the main content, the pre-footer, and the actual footer. Okay, so I would suggest that we go ahead and put those in our HTML. Those are going to be something like divs or sections or headers or footers, something like that. So let's create a header. And to me, what should be in the header is a div with an ID of, or with a class of banner. I think I'd rather just use classes. So there's this whole purple banner. And after the banner, there is the nav. And I don't know, I kind of want to see the actual site in addition to that picture. Something about, so this purple-ish, light purple banner. We've got the nav. There is this add, which I'm fine for you to not do. I'm also fine for you to not do the search bar, but I kind of want to teach you how to do it, even though I'm not going to require it. And I also don't need you to do the this shop the series button, so I want to take that out. And I definitely don't need you to do the this interactive component there. Kind of would like, though, I do want, you see everything I've highlighted? That's the book content that I'd like you to do. I guess I don't care about book details and editions, this drop down. Although it wouldn't be that hard, it's just text, I think. We're skipping everything from here, all the comments, this ad, the join the discussion, the series. Kind of almost want to do this section, but I think I'll take it out for the sake of time. These 3 columns, I think they're all images, so yeah, they wouldn't be that hard. But then we're going to jump down here and resume doing it from here down. Okay. Okay. We've got our banner there. We've got the nav. We have this section. Actually, this is probably better. There's something called main. Have we seen main? Main is a section that has the main content. So the main is basically not the header or the footer. That's a lot easier to read, isn't it? I should just do that. What's that? Oh, I did. Thank you, Jonathan. Yep, that's a mistake. So I want the main outside the header. And I don't know why I'm thinking about it. I definitely want a footer as well. What's in main would be the ad, which we're not doing, this book section, all the comments, but we're not doing that. This can't find what you're looking for section would be in the main section. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to have a section with a class of book think book's okay. So this section will have that left side. How bad does this look? That's pretty close. Okay. It'll have this left side of the book and the button and the right side of all this information. So let me go ahead and put that in. So there'd be a div. Let me just call it div.left and a div.right. So the right is all of this junk, right? And the left is going to be that. Can you see my? Yeah. And then, but right before the footer, but in main, there's that section that is can't find what you're looking for. And is that a section? To me, it's not really a section. It's more like a div. It's not a whole section. So I'm going to say div dot. Actually, let me just call it help, because I think it's really just trying to get you connected with their help. And this one, this one's actually so easy. Let's just put it in. I would say there is a paragraph with a class of I don't know. It's really just bold, isn't it? Yeah, to me, it's such a low-level header. I don't know. Maybe you could call it, let's call it an H4. And it says can't find what you're looking for. And then I'm going to have a paragraph with this thing. So I'm just copy-pasting this text. And then there's going to be a button. And I'm going to call it a BTN dot outline, because it's like an outline button. You okay with outline? And it's going to say help center. Bothers me that they didn't capitalize the C in center. I think that should be capitalized. If I were to, I already had previewed this, so this is what it looks like previewed. You see here, their site is responsive, and the nav bar changes its structure depending on how wide it is. And this is sort of what I would call like their iPad medium layout. I bet it squishes down to be more, yeah. And I'm saying we're going to make the desktop site, what's the smallest? Ugh. So it's at this point where they have a nav with one row, home, my books, browse, community, search bar, and sign in. I also want you to note this. As my browser gets wider, which I can simulate by zooming out. See, as I zoom out, zooming out is as if now I had a giant monitor. And do you note that the banner, you see the banner always goes full width, and the nav, the color goes full width, and the footer always goes full width, but all my content is constrained to some maximum width. You seeing that? You see this pattern a lot because we typically don't want our content going all the way to the edges just in case somebody has a giant monitor. We kind of want to keep it a screen's width wide. So we're going to use a wrapper class to make this happen, and we do need some structure for this. So basically, do you see this margin? Okay, let me draw it here. Like you can see it in the nav, and it goes down. That, I'm a little off on the left side. That is our wrapper, right? This stuff doesn't get wider than that. And I suspect, yeah, theirs is about 1280 is a pretty standard convention for that. You could make it what you want. I'll make it 1280 just so that the stuff kind of fits in the same way. So anything that we want to stay within that needs to have another div, probably, that constrains it to be a max width of 1280 pixels. So if I were to come in here, I'm going to create a dot wrapper. And the wrapper, I want to have a max width of 1280 pixels. So now the whole point of this div is just to always be 1280 pixels wide at the most. It can get smaller than that, which is fine, but it can't get bigger than 1280. And I want this to always be centered horizontally. And I can just say margin 0 auto without using flex or anything and make that div centered. So this is a really common pattern you see used all the time on most websites. All right, so now that I have the CSS for this, and actually let me, this is just so we can see it. I'm going to outline 1 pixel solid Rebecca purple. Sure, that's a nice, beautiful color. Okay, I haven't used it yet, so you can't see it. In my index, notice I want the content constrained to that width, but I want the background color going all the way. So to accomplish that, in the banner, I actually need another div that is the wrapper. So this will constrain my content, but I can make the banner, its color, I can make it 100% wide, even if that's more than 1280 pixels. And I think I would rather, like they actually made this an image, which I don't love. So, but I guess we can do it their way. So if you say IMG, the source here is on the images folder. I think I just called it banner.jpg. And that's how big it is. This is not the right way of doing it. If you have text, you should put the text on the page. Otherwise, a web crawler can't read your text if it's in an image. I don't really know why they did this, but they did. So I guess we can go with that. Oh, it hurts me to teach you to do it the wrong way. I think it would be better to basically recreate this banner, but I can't recreate it because I don't have the star image. I mean, it would be sort of a pain to extract. Okay, now this is already killing me. Do you see that there's this white space around the image, and the image is gigantic? We want to make sure that that image never gets more than 100% of its parent. Its parent is what, the header? We want to make sure it's at the max. Oh, it's never more than 100%. So let's go ahead and fix that. That's a pretty common problem as well. I'm also saying I wrote in here under star code to restrict the margin and padding to be nothing, to reset the margin and padding. This is my basic reset here. But I didn't connect my style sheet to my HTML. So I want to have a link : CSS, and mine is called styles. And it should be that as soon as I do that, some stuff changes. Everything's going to get super tight together, and now this is like semi-broken because of the way they did it. So actually in their case, because they use that giant image, they don't put that in. The banner is not in the wrapper. Okay, but the banner is still too wide. So what I'm going to say, because this is actually a pretty standard thing, I would like all of my images, IMG, I want all of my images to never be bigger than 100% of their parent. Does that make sense? They can get smaller, but they can't get bigger. You seeing this? So by making that image a max width of 100%, it always takes up the full width. Okay. Let's do more. Now, I actually do want the wrapper on this one. So in this nav, actually, let me see it again. But what I could do is, to avoid the wrap, I need an element that's going to be constrained to the max width. I need another element to have the background color. I guess I can here say this is a div that is the wrapper. And in this wrapper, I want the stuff that's in the nav, which is I have an anchor tag that is the logo, and I got that under images / isn't it just called logo.svg? So that's this Goodreads right there. That image I've already downloaded. It's gigantic. It's an SVG. Yeah? Okay. Really, I want this to go to index.html because it's the home page. Okay. What else do I have? Would you consider this in the nav? You would? Okay. It's special is why I don't, part of me doesn't want to make it. Okay. I think I do want to control the rest of it. Looks like to me there's kind of two parts. There's this part, which are all kind of like left aligned, and then there's the sign in button that's all the way to the right. You with me? Isn't that how it changes? So as I make this bigger, the left stuff all this stuff stays together, and all the extra space comes right here after the search box. So because I want there to be two children here, I need there to be another element. So I guess it could be a UL, and I would like there to be an LI that contains an A, right? This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, actually here, then I can say LI contains an anchor, put it in parentheses, times 5, and now I get 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Honestly, I think this one is not in the nav. That's the way I would say it, that this sign-in button is outside of this UL. Does that make sense? So I've kind of got like two special links that are not in the UL. They didn't capitalize the I and N. I do not like that. Okay, so this would be home, my books, browse, and community. That's it, right? So this is home, my books, browse, community. And then there should be I'm making this version. You could imagine this search box. Maybe it's in this list item. It's not really. To make a search box, we're going to have an input with a type equal to text. So this isn't especially challenging. I know I skipped this chapter, but you see this. An input element is an element that allows users to input something. And there's several different types here, and text is the most common, and that'll give us a box that we can type into. So save that. You see here? Now I have these links and this box that I can type into. Yeah? Okay. Feels like that's the content of the nav. It's just not styled at all. And then I would like to make the header this background color because you see that light gray? Can you see there's a difference? You can on your side if you can't on the screen. There's a difference between this white and this light gray. And I wanted to introduce a new thing for you that does make our life easier. If you go to the style sheet and scroll to the very top, what I've put in here are variables in CSS. I don't think we've learned this before, have we? The concept is pretty straightforward, though. The syntax is really weird, but the concept is simple. So I have defined in the root of this CSS file, that is at the kind of highest level of the document, a set of CSS variables that you can use later in the document. So you can see, for example, I have a dash. All the variables have to start with dash dash. Why? Oh no, for some reason they decided that. So dash dash color BG body. Guess what that is? Guess what I am using this word to these three words to represent? It's color of the background of the body. And I actually went ahead and used it down here to give you one example. You use this special function var, var parenthesis, your variable name, so that would be any of these at the top, closing parenthesis. So when I do this now in the code, when the code runs in your browser, this color BG body gets replaced with whatever the value is up here. Can you see why this would be helpful? If I were to use a particular color multiple times on the page, I could name it and then always use the same name. And if I later were to decide, oh, I want to change the color, that color everywhere where it's used, I can change it one spot. And so you see I've got several up here. I've got colors for the nav, the body, the card, that's the thing before the footer, and the footer. I've got the color of the text, the standard color, a disabled color, and a light color. This is what to read. This is the button. So the what to read button, the base color, and the color that it is when you hover. And then I've got some colors related to the stars and some colors related to the input text box. So even if you, to me, this is a much clearer way for me to tell you these are the colors we're using and generally the context for which we're using those colors. And the magic is that you've just got to use this var function down here. So to practice this, I would like to say that all of the text is in this standard color. All the text on the body is in this color. It looks black, but it's actually not black. So I'm going to say color, colon, var, dash, dash, and then color, isn't it? Color, text, body, standard, and then outside the parenthesis, semicolon. And so now I've made all of my text that color by default. Does that make sense? I know it's hard to tell the difference, but it's a little bit less harsh black. Okay. So y'all want to put the ad in or not? We're ad free. Okay. So let's look at this section that's called book. What's in the left div? As I see it, the left div has the cover and a button. And that's the only two things I want to do. So I would like to have, let me see, an image. And the source is images / I think I just called it the Abel's cover.jpg. And I really should have an alt, but I'm going fast here. And then I want to have a button. And I think, let's see, what is this? This button is interesting because it has this two parts. Let's go for the basic version first. I'm going to say I have a button with a class of BTN and a class of what to read. So notice the syntax. If I say BTN button dot BTN dot WTR, then I'm going to get a button that has two classes. And in this button, I would like it to say, no, it's not, it's want to read, not what to read. They're fully committed to the uppercase, only the first letter. Okay. Let's take a look at this. Let's see if the content is there. Okay, yeah, there's those two. Okay, and then in the right side, there's this thing up here, which is kind of like the series title, I think. So maybe it's a paragraph, and I'm going to call it series title or something. And it says your book might not have this, does it? Is this just something some books have? Anybody? Okay, so it has nothing. So yours just starts with the big words, the big title? Okay. And then for this one, I think that's either an H1 or an H2. I don't know. I kind of want to make it an H2. I don't know. Maybe it's the highest level H1. Do you think it is? Let's see what the pros did. They made it an H1. Okay. So you can look, like inspect and see what they did. They're using a very different framework than we're using, and it's way complicated. So if you just try to copy paste their stuff, it honestly can easily backfire and become just a big complicated mess, because we can really do something that's much, much simpler. So I've got the ables there, and then, I don't know, is Jeremy Scott an H2? To me, it's not. But let me see what they did. Nope, it is not. Okay. No, sorry, they made that an H3. Where's the H2? How are you just going to skip to H3? I don't like that. Do not like that. Okay. Well, I'm going to make it an H2 then. Yeah. If you notice though, you'll see there's also this little G symbol here, which is like, I don't know, some kind of verified Goodreads thing. So we really need to add that in. I will challenge you to add in the content. I don't know, I would like to walk through the way I would do some of this section and some of the other tricky parts of the styles on Wednesday. But I'm not going to do any of this stuff at the bottom, so that's definitely on your own. And I can't commit to doing all of this. So I would say you want to go ahead and take a stab, put your stuff in, and then you can compare it to what I do if you want to roll that way. But on the whole, if you make it look like this, then it doesn't have to be the same code as mine. Question? When, where? I will prioritize doing that today, since you're following along. Thank you, Tatum. Call me on it if I don't get it out, okay? Thank you. Yeah.